first 90 days at Amazon. You will end up at Amazon or your company of choice. You always wanted to stay on top of your game anyway. If we are meeting for the first time, my name is Holly Lee. I am a career coach simply here, live streaming twice a week, every Tuesday at 12:30 p.m. right here Pacific Standard Time, and Friday at 9:30 a.m. for my AMIA Asia Pacific and Pay YouTube member who couldn't make it to the afternoon stream. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell notification so you won't miss my weekly webinar to help you land a position with your company of choice. And in this channel, I focus a lot of my energy on Amazon. A couple weeks ago, I talked about my first week onboarding experience at Amazon, how I was given a laptop, my login, my password, and boom, go save the world and hire a bunch of people for Kindle organization. I gave you an example with 3 different organizations in my first 30 days onboarding at Amazon, how I was able to build and launch my own recruiting team, how I was able to build out a recruiting strategy for the entire year just within the first month. Now I wanted to share with you in 3 months, what does that look like in an Amazon standard? When you work remote and when you're physically in the corporate headquarters, they may be a little slight difference. I don't think any of this is going to change too much. Okay. The intent here is to set up for success with the 90-day process. Clear goals so you know how to hit those goals, which simply say, hey, by the way, your first 60, 30, 90 days, slow down, don't worry about it. Don't listen to any of that because I've had 3 different org. I was at Amazon for over 6 years. And I'm going to tell you right now, this is what I've seen. I've hired a lot of people who report to me. I have a lot of manager as well. I work with a lot of different engineering team. And I will break down the 3 org that I use to support so that you can understand why I am the way that I am. Third thing is efficiency with your time, and lastly, delivering result. In this case, let's start with the Kindle organization where I had my first hire even within my first week as a senior recruiter, and I hire over 15 hardware engineering up to engineering leader, principal hardware engineering across all of the Kindle organization within the first 90 days. I had also, on top of that, inherited a different role. Remember when I mentioned in a lot of my live stream, I said that at Amazon, when you look at the job description, you're absolutely going to do all of that on top of another role or maybe 2 or 3 additional. That's exactly the point that I'm trying to prove to you guys right now. Not only was I the hardware recruiter at the time, I was also the software embedded LTE 4G, a new client group. So I actually supported multiple VP. And I also inherited the program management team across all of software and hardware, basically everything under the Kindle organization umbrella in my first 90 days. On top of that, I was also building a display and optic engineering team across Asia Pacific because at the time, the technology was fairly new and there's a handful of folks with that niche experience. To be exact, there's about 21 of them. How I know that number is accurate professional? Because myself and my engineering leader at the time, we actually sat down where I show him all of my matrix, all of my data market research across all of US. I took down Asia, I had AMIA, basically I had everything, and we did the math and we finally came to term that there's not a whole lot of people that can do the job. I was able to convince my leader at the time to have remote site in Shenzhen and also in Singapore, and I think there's another one in Beijing as well. Memories are losing it because the last time I was at Kindle by now is probably about 10 years ago. The second example was my experience in consumer retail. I would say that is probably where I had the time of my life. The launch plan for my hiring manager at the time, by the way, within 4 months, my manager had left the organization. I also went through a couple managers during that year, 4 managers to be exact. So as you can see, if you're only paying attention to the launch plan and if you're not ahead of the game, you're probably going to get lost a little bit because if you have a new manager, either within the same company transferring to your team, worst case scenario, a new manager from external person doesn't know how to onboard you. You're onboarding them while you're a new employee to that team. Okay. So in my first 90 days in consumer, I ran my first recruiting international event in Madrid, Spain. Woohoo! I was a lead recruiter. I have a program manager in recruiting. We have a couple sourcing recruiters to help us, but we were able to generate 40 plus on-site interview, resulting over 10 offers at the time. And that's really high number. And also for someone who's brand spanking new to organization. Another thing that I have done within the 3 months was went from being being hired as an individual contributor for a hot second, meaning an IC, to quickly to a people manager because I've lost a couple managers here along the way. And I was basically a senior lead recruiter where I had to put a business proposal together. That's week 1, by the way. And that budget approval got approved within the first month. So within 90 days, I have from 0 to a team of 7 technical recruiters reporting to me. And that's how we were able to grow another change in the consumer space at the time, having a goal of 27 higher to 180. And lastly, I want to talk about the Alexa platform, my most recent org, which I went from inheriting as a recruiting leader, a team of 9 to 12 across North America and also a brand new team in Canada. Another memorable fact of my time with the Alexa org is going from having the initial goal again. This is you guys hear the pattern here? Do you guys hear the pattern? Within the first month, my goal was hiring 110 for the Alexa engine, which is the largest Alexa group. I don't want to spend my time talking about Alexa here, but there's skills, Alexa Home, right? There's a number of different services, 5 product line, but the engine, it is something that power up all the technology that goes into the hub. I went from 110 hiring for all of Alexa platform to 300. And in the end, I was able to hit my goal at the end of that year with a team of 12 people. There you have it, professional. That's why in sharing my personal example with you of someone who actually spent the time, years of time in multiple group and not just one group, because I know that 90% of you guys are interviewing at AWS right now. But if you heard clearly, I gave you 3 examples from 3 different org. And what is that similarity? They all sound the same. So it doesn't matter if you're in Kindle, you're in consumer, you're in AWS, the speed, it is the speed of light. Not connected on LinkedIn yet? There you go. There is my LinkedIn. Make sure we are connected on there. You accepted an Apple offer. Woo! Woo-hoo! You got the job at Amazon. Yay! Congrats. Yes, job offer. Did I tell you guys about over 300 people who landed an offer in 2020? Yay! There's so many people who land the job, and if I look at their background, none of them came from companies that I've ever heard of. And when I did work for all the big companies, the people that I've hired are from startup. Earn trust. Are you able to think big and dive deep? Every single one of those questions should tie around thinking big, diving deep. Can you deliver result, which is your business impact, people?